Hey guys, here we are at part 3 of the story. Another mob attacks Naruto, and the third Hokage takes a decision that will make Naruto a dangerous shinobi. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe button. Now, let's jump right in. To say that Naruto was only a little pissed was to say that the fourth Hokage was a mediocre shinobi. He was furious at the moment but kept a tight lid on it. He was pacing back and forth in his assigned room waiting for the deadline for the end of the second stage of the exams. He couldn't wrap his mind around what he just heard. The scrolls they carried during the exams turned out to be summoning scrolls. Each scroll summoned a Chunin instructor that would either pass your team if you fulfilled all the requirements or they failed you by knocking you out. Our scroll summoned a teacher from the academy, Iruka Umino. Arashi had met Iruka many times while doing errands around the village. After requesting medical attention for his teammates, Arashi walked around the tower in search of Kakashi to tell him about Sasuke's Hell Hiki. He could have found Kakashi anytime he wanted to but decided to take this time to get his thoughts in order. He arrived at the top of the tower to find Kakashi leaning against a wall next to a door at the far end of the hall. As he approached him, Kakashi glanced up and instead of the usual dismissive glance actually put his book away and met Arashi halfway. "Arashi, I wasn't expecting you so soon," Kakashi said by way of greeting. "But you were expecting me?" Arashi questioned curiously. "Yes, I was. I already know about Sasuke's new accessory. I'm about to go deal with that right now. The Hokage would like to speak with you though, he's in there." Kakashi gestured toward the doors he was standing next to when Arashi arrived. "Good, I want to talk to him as well." Arashi was about to walk past him when Kakashi held up a hand to stall him. "After you're finished with the Hokage, come find me again. There's something I've wanted to talk to you about for a while now." "Sure, Sensei," Arashi said and walked past him towards the doors at the end of the hall. Knocking on the doors, he pushed them inward when he heard the gruff enter, and saw the Hokage sitting behind a replica of his desk from the Hokage tower. "Arashi, good you're here. Shut the door and give me your report," the Hokage said. Arashi stepped fully into the room, closed the door behind him and stood in the middle of the room and gave his report. "As per your orders, during the second stage, I was to keep an eye on one Kabuto Yakushi. Leaving my team with a shadow clone, I traced Kabuto and his team to a clearing in Training Ground 44. He is definitely working for Orochimaru, but in what capacity I don't know. Whatever he does, he is close enough for the smell of Orochimaru's summons to rub off on him. I tried to listen to the conversation he was having between him and his teammates, but I was too far away and without knowing their skills, I didn't want to risk getting too close and tipping them off that they were being watched. I caught snippets of the conversation. I know it involved Sasuke, Orochimaru and some kind of test." Arashi paused before continuing. "I wasn't able to follow them for long because my clone dispersed itself to relay some information. I know you're aware Orochimaru infiltrated the exams and it looks like his purpose was to brand Sasuke with one of his curse marks. He has already used it once. That's when I decided to just get here and get him some treatment." After Arashi finished his report, he just stood there waiting for the Hokage response. Hiruzen took his time dissecting this information. "Is there anything else you can tell me?" "Well, after putting together what little I found out and what Sakura told me, it seems the test was a fight between Sasuke and Orochimaru disguised as a grass nin. It seems he wanted to test Sasuke's skills and also wanted Sasuke to activate his Sharingan, which he did because after he activated it, that's when Sakura said he bit Sasuke, branding him." Hiruzen took a deep breath and let it out before speaking. "We received word from Anko yesterday, maybe an hour into the second stage, that she had discovered the slaughtered remains of the grass team minus their faces. After sending back word about her suspicions, she went into the forest to confront Orochimaru." Arashi stiffened when he heard that and became completely still. "Son of a bitch. She better be alright or I'll go back to the Sound Village and burn it to the ground." Arashi raged in his mind. "She's alright, but he did send a message with her. If we cancel the exams or pull Sasuke out of them, then he's going to invade, which is good news." Hiruzen finished. Arashi looked at him in mild shock. "How is that good news?" The Hokage smiled slightly. "It's good news because he doesn't know that we know an invasion is coming. He still believes he will have the element of surprise." Arashi nodded his head at that. "Here, take this file and study it," the Hokage said, reaching into a drawer and pulling out 3 thin manila folders. "I should have never sent you after them without more information. That was my fault. These are the files on Kabuto and his team. I want you to familiarize yourself with their files. Your mission is not over." "I understand. Now I think I'll go get some rest. I've been going non-stop for 2 days now." "Very well, I'll see you after the deadline," Hiruzen said by way of dismissal. Naruto was in mid-pace when he sensed a presence at his door. Moving quickly to open it, he was not surprised to find Anko with her hand poised to knock. Before she had a chance to speak, he grabbed her hand and dragged her into the room and slammed the door. "Hey, what's with the manhandling?" Anko snapped. Naruto still didn't say anything and just grabbed her face and smashed his lips on top of hers. Anko was completely taken back by Naruto. There was usually some teasing before her and Naruto got physical, but he hadn't so much as said hi to her before he was kissing her breathless. Speaking of breathless, she was quickly running out of oxygen. Fortunately, that was when the kiss ended. They were both panting when the kiss was broken, Anko more so than Naruto. "Okay. What the hell was that? You don't even speak to me before you shove your tongue in my mouth trying to suffocate me. What's going on?" Anko asked. "There are two things going on. One is, that was a thank Kami you're alive kiss. I just came back from speaking to the Hokage not too long ago. He said you went after Orochimaru without backup. What were you thinking? Had the bastard not been in a good mood, I might be mourning you instead of kissing you," Naruto explained. After his explanation, Anko looked equal parts pissed off and shamefaced. Quite a combination. "I was thinking I could finally get rid of the asshole," Anko said as she started pacing the room in an agitated. "Everything I do is shadowed by him, by his status as a traitor and by me being his student. I'll never be rid of his stink until he's dead and gone." Anko paused in her pacing to sit on the single bed in the room and stare at the floor. Naruto sighed and moved to sit next to her. "I can't say I know how you feel. What I do know is that had you died yesterday, you would have left behind a lot of devastated people. Does Kurenai know you went after him by yourself yet?" Naruto chuckled as Anko's face paled slightly. Anko might have been one of the scariest people in Konoha, but Kurenai was known to call up Kage-level strength when she was defending someone she cared about, and she loved Anko like a sister. "Ah man, when she finds out what I almost did, she's going to kill me," Anko whined. "What do you mean what you almost did?" Naruto asked. Anko looked at him confused for a moment. "Don't you know? You said you spoke with the Hokage about our fight. He didn't give me a play-by-play. At least I don't think he did. What did you almost do?" Anko's eyes widened momentarily. "You know what, I should let you get some rest. It's only the second day and before you know it the second stage will be over and then back in the trenches. So I'll see you later." As she was speaking, she was also making her way to the door, and by the end of her sentence she was turning the handle before Naruto put a hand on the door keeping it closed. "You're not leaving until you tell me." Anko hung her head, not wanting to look Naruto in the eye and tell him what actually happened. "I might have tried a forbidden jutsu he taught me." Naruto narrowed his eyes and placed his finger under Anko's chin to raise her head up and look her in the eye. "What kind of forbidden jutsu? What would it do?" he demanded. "It would have kind of killed both of us if it was successful," she mumbled. Naruto blinked slowly at first, then nodded his head as if he came to a silent agreement with himself. "Yep, she is definitely going to put a hurting on you, and my punishment is increased as well." Anko looked at him confusedly. "What punishment? You don't have any authority to give out punishments. I outrank you, remember? This is not a punishment from shinobi to shinobi, it's a punishment from lover to lover. Remember when I said there were two things going on with that kiss?" he asked. Getting a cautious nod from her, Naruto continued. "Well, at first, for doing something so stupid as to go after someone of Orochimaru's status without backup, I was going to prohibit any sexual contact until the end of the second stage." Anko gasped and her face grew pale at the thought of no more orgasms from her earthbound sex god. "Now that you tell me that you were about to kill yourself, well, now that means no more sexual contact until after the exams are over completely. That kiss was supposed to hold us over for the next 3 days. But I guess it will be until whenever these exams are finished," Naruto said, looking Anko in the eye to convey that he was serious. "And no more 3-hour sex sessions for Anko?" Anko said in a soft pleading voice. Naruto just shook his head. "No. No more sex on the Hokage monument for Anko?" Another shake was her answer. "No more quickies in the Hokage's office for Anko?" Another shake of the head. "And no touching yourself either," Naruto said. "No." Anko screamed to the heavens above. Jiraiya of the Sannin, Toad Sage, sensei of Minato Namikaze, author of the Hit Icha Icha series and self-proclaimed super pervert, stopped in his tracks as a chill went down his back. Normally following this chill would be intense pain of several fists of feminine fury at being caught researching material for his books. But this chill was different. He only felt this chill whenever he met monks or other religious types, or when he came across a beaten-down husband. It was the chill of forced celibacy. Jiraiya bowed his head as he was wont to do in situations such as this and sent a silent prayer to the Icha Icha gods. "May you know the pleasures of the flesh once again, comrade." Arashi was now wall-walking the side of the tower towards the roof where he sensed Kakashi. He left Anko back in his room sulking in a corner about her punishment while he went to have his talk with Kakashi. He found the man sitting on the roof and just staring out into the forest with a blank look in his only visible eye. So Arashi just sat himself next to him and waited until he approached whatever subject he wanted to talk about. He didn't have to wait long and Kakashi got right to the point. "You're Naruto Uzumaki, aren't you?" Naruto, seeing no reason to lie to him, said, "Yes, I am. Although that isn't my full name, it's Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." "So you know about your father as well," Kakashi stated. "Yeah, when I was 6 Gigi told me everything and sent me to be trained away from the village." "Who trained you?" "Whoever it was must have been exceptional and also beyond trustworthy." "You're going to have to ask Gigi that. It's a secret that as far as I know he and I are the only living beings who know. The training was brutal but well worth every ache and pain I had to endure," Naruto said. Kakashi nodded at that as he had seen his skill for himself. "Who else knows the truth about you?" "For now just Anko, Gigi, Asuma, Konohamaru and now you. Gigi's going to make an announcement before the third round about my return and my heritage. It's going to be a shitstorm but I can't hide forever and it's better for us to reveal who I am instead of someone else," Naruto said, staring off into the forest below. "So I suppose you know I was a student of your father's. After my teammate Obito died and my other teammate Rin disappeared, he was all I had left to keep me from self-destructing." Kakashi turned his head to look directly at the blonde next to him. "So if there is anything you ever need just ask and I'll do my best to help." Naruto stared into Kakashi's sole visible eye and nodded his head, grateful for the support he was receiving from him. "You have done plenty. I would have been a lot worse off if you hadn't interfered as much as you did when I was a child," Inu, Naruto said, smirking at Kakashi's look of surprise when he said Kakashi Anbu codename. How? Kakashi was so shocked he couldn't even feign his usual blasé attitude. Naruto chuckled at Kakashi's discomfort. "Those Anbu masks may cover your faces but I dare you to name anyone else in Konoha with gravity-defying silver hair. Some of the Anbu with more distinguishing hair should really look into utilizing a transformation jutsu when on duty, like that cat Anbu with the long purple hair. Maybe you guys should look into a face mask helmet combo or maybe invest in some wigs or something." Naruto laughed outright at Kakashi's sheepish expression. Naruto stopped laughing after a while before he took on a thoughtful expression and turned to look at Kakashi. "You know, maybe there is something you can do for me." Naruto reached into one of his many pockets and took out a scroll that said documents on the label. He opened the scroll and bypassed the storage seals labeled mission reports, bank statements and business and went to the one that said personal and applied some chakra. Flicking through the many folders until he came across the one he was looking for, he resealed the rest away. "This is something my father would have wanted you to have, and I want you to have it too. Thanks for everything, Kakashi," Naruto said before standing and making his way back inside. Hiruzen and Sarutobi stood in front of a gathering of wannabe chunins. Some were dirty and exhausted, some were in fresh clothes and well rested, there were very few of the latter. "Congratulations on making it this far. Each and every one of you does your villages proud," Sarutobi said. "Now allow to tell you the true meaning of the chunin exams." As the Hokage began his speech about the true meaning of the exams, Arashi was looking at the gathered competition. There was Team 8, 9 and 10 as well as Kabuto's team, the Sound team, the team from Suna. With the exception of Team 7, Kabuto's team and the Suna squad, they all looked like they spent months in the training ground instead of 5 days. "Is there anyone here who wishes to quit at this point in the exams?" Arashi focused on the speaker when he heard those words. It was a sickly-looking jonin with a standard Konoha outfit and a bandana-style headband. "I would have voiced behind and to the right of," Arashi said. When he turned, he was not surprised to see that it was Kabuto. "I'm afraid I don't have enough chakra to continue." "Bullshit," Arashi thought. "Very well, cough, cough. You're excused. We are far from done, Kabuto." "Count on it," Arashi thought, eyeing Kabuto as he made his way out of the chamber they were currently in. "I quit as well," a soft voice said in front of him. Arashi turned around so fast he felt like he pulled something in his neck. "Sakura?" Sakura didn't even turn around, just kept facing forward. "What the hell, forehead? What kind of game are you playing, quitting all of a sudden?" Ino asked, or more like demanded. Sakura turned to face her one-time best friend. "That's just it, Ino, this isn't a game. It's like that instructor from the first exam said, as Chunin we are going to have the lives of our comrades resting on every decision we make, and I know I'm nowhere near ready for that. I've only made it this far because of luck. I was about to quit during the 10th question, and if not for you guys coming when you did." Sakura paused here as she relived the experience of the Sound team's attack. "I would have probably died in the forest 3 days ago. No, I'm not ready to be a Chunin. I have too much to learn, Sakura said, turning to face the instructor. Ino just stared at Sakura with her mouth open, trying to process how Sakura could sound so worldly in such a short time out of the academy. You're dismissed as well. Anyone else? Arashi placed a hand on Sakura's shoulder as she walked past him. It seems like that hidden kunoichi is starting to fight her way to the surface. I have a feeling I'll be meeting her before long, Arashi said, only loud enough for Sakura to hear. A tinge of pink spread over Sakura's face that matched her hair, which thankfully Arashi ignored. Thank you, she said softly, and walked to the exit, leaving the arena. Proctor, I quit too, Ino exclaimed loudly. At forehead thinks she going to get away with saying I'm only better than her because she quit. She has another thing coming, Ino said, stomping out after Sakura. It seems we are finally ready, cough, cough, to begin the elimination round. Direct your attention to the board. When your name appears, cough, cough. Obviously you're to come to the center of the arena prepared to fight. The first match will be. Everyone looked to the board as the names of the participants flashed through before coming to a stop on two names. Sasuke, Uchiha and Arashi, you two stay here, while the rest of you retreat to the balcony until your turn, Hayate said. Sasuke vs Arashi. Arashi and Sasuke faced off against each other in the center of the ring while the other Chunin hopefuls went to the balcony as instructed. You two will fight until one of you are unable to, or until I stop you. Are you ready? Hayate said, first looking at Sasuke. When he received a nod, he looked at Arashi, who also nodded very well. Begin. XXXXXX. Tough break, Kakashi, having your Junon going against each other right from the start, Asuma said. I agree with Asuma, Kakashi, this cannot be good for your team, Guy said in a quiet tone denoting his seriousness. Kakashi didn't turn to address either man, he just kept a lazy eye on the two Junon in the center of the arena. I'm not worried about team unity. Arashi was only on the team as a replacement and I already knew of his skills, so his promotion was almost guaranteed. Now it's just a formality. What I'm worried about is how much damage he's going to do to Sasuke's pride. Guy was looking at Kakashi like he had just spoken a different language. Just a formality? What makes you think he has the skill to make Chunin first time around? Asuma lit a cigarette and took a deep drag on it before stepping into the conversation. You've been busy with your team lately and have missed the last few get-togethers. You've heard of the Perfect Storm, right? The bounty hunter? Getting a nod from the green-clad Jonin. That's him down there, Asuma said, gesturing towards the blonde masked ninja. Guy was bug-eyed at that revelation. Asuma chuckled at Guy's look. He joined the village about 6 months ago. If not for the mandatory probationary period, the old man probably would have made him a Jonin straight out. Sasuke Chunin exam stops here, from what he's told me has trained every day until he dropped, and he has over a year of real-world experience. Sasuke's done here, Asuma said, taking a drag on his cancer stick. Although I don't like the way he said it, Asuma's right, Sasuke won't make it past this match. If it was anyone else he was facing, I would bet on him or at least give him even odds, but not here, Kakashi said, not taking his eyes off the pair. Arashi got into a loose boxing stance and prepared himself for whatever the Uchiha would launch first. But instead of the Uchiha getting into any type of stance or beginning any hand seal, all he did was smirk. I have been waiting for the chance to test my strength against someone. I was hoping it would be that redhead up there, but I think you'll do just fine. Well, I'm flattered that you think so highly of my skills, but flattery will get you nowhere with me. Try dinner and a movie, Arashi said. Arashi was quick to duck under the roundhouse kick that statement had provoked. He also avoided the leg sweep that followed it. He could already see Sasuke was letting his anger cloud his thoughts. Arashi didn't need the Sharingan to predict where every kick and punch was coming from. XXXXXX. Well, it didn't take long for Sasuke to lose what control he had. It might be less embarrassing if he just forfeited, Kakashi said casually. What do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? Look at Sasuke go. He's putting that Arashi guy on his heels, Kiba said, getting a bark of agreement from his dog Akumaru. Look closer, Kiba Kurana said to her student. Sasuke is just throwing wild punches and kicks, and if you look carefully, Arashi is anticipating them accurately. It's true, Sasuke has been open to counterattacks since the first kick. Arashi-san may seem to be on the defense, but really he's just letting Sasuke tire himself. It takes more energy to swing and miss than it does to connect with an attack. A very effective strategy, Guy said, analyzing the fight. XXXXXX. After another failed volley of punches and kicks, Sasuke jumped into the air to put some distance between the two. As he landed on the ground, he was just finishing hand seals for a jutsu fire style, Great Fireball Jutsu, Sasuke exclaimed as he inhaled a deep breath and exhaled a massive fireball at Arashi. Like it was second nature, Arashi retrieved a blood-red scroll from one of his many pockets and opened to a seal labeled fire. Applying chakra to the seal to activate it, Arashi held it up to the incoming fireball and watched as it was absorbed into the seal. When the last of the flames were absorbed and Sasuke was panting on one knee, Arashi once again applied chakra to the seal to deactivate it, sealing the flames within. "So Sasuke, how does it feel to have one of your jutsu stolen from you?" Arashi asked, putting the scroll away. Sasuke just glared at the blonde ninja across, before another smirk played across his features. "You're better than I thought. It gives me the perfect opportunity to finally test this out fully," he said, activating his Sharingan. It wasn't fully matured yet, only 2 tomos in the right eye and 1 in the left. Sasuke noticed Arashi had ducked his head so that he wouldn't meet his eyes. "I see you know the power of the Uchiha clan, you can't even look me eye the eyes now." Arashi shook his head, still not looking up. "That's not it at all. I was just remembering the first time I activated my own Sharingan," Arashi said, looking up with the red eyes of an Uchiha with a fully matured Sharingan in each eye. Gasps and mutterings were heard all throughout the small arena. Even the Hokage was so shocked he dropped his pipe. "What, another one? Kami, I could have a spare set of eyes after all." A disguised Jonin thought, salivating at the thought of another possible set of red eyes. But none were more shocked than Sasuke, who had let his own eyes deactivate when Arashi looked up. "Triple H, how do you have those eyes? Tell me how you have those eyes, you're not an Uchiha!" Sasuke screamed. Instead of answering, Arashi sped forward and buried his hand in Sasuke's sternum, just above the stomach and right below the ribcage. Sasuke doubled over and puked up his last meal before he started gasping for breath. Grabbing the back of Sasuke's shirt before he hit the ground, Arashi stood him up and grabbed Sasuke around the throat with his right hand. He threw Sasuke's right arm behind his head. Then he lifted Sasuke in the air on a fully extended arm and made a 180-degree turn. "Choke slam from hell," he said before slamming Sasuke on his back. With the added pain and having the rest of the wind knocked out of him, Sasuke was out like a light and Arashi was making his way towards the stairs. "Winner! Arashi! Medics!" Arashi heard behind him. As he made his way up the stairs, he was greeted by a bunch of shocked faces, none more so than those of Konoha. "What? What do you mean what? How the hell do you have the Sharingan?" Asuma demanded with shock written all over his face. "Wait, am I new to Sumo? This is my student, I'll ask the questions here," Kakashi said. "What do you mean what? How the hell do you have the Sharingan?" Kakashi demanded, much like Asuma. "Sharingan? Oh right, the Sharingan. Well, that's easy, I don't have the Sharingan at all," Arashi said. All of the Konoha ninja face planted at the casual response, while the foreign ninja sweat dropped. "Dude! You still have it activated," Kiba exclaimed, pointing at Arash's eyes. "Oh. I can see how you're all confused then." Arashi brought his hands up in the ram seal release. When he said that, the fully matured Sharingan melted away and revealed Arashi's regular cerulean blue eyes. "It was just a doubled layered genjutsu. I applied it when everyone was looking at the board for the first match. I was only going to use it as shock value to throw my opponent off during our fight. Unfortunately, that opponent was Sasuke. When Sasuke activated his and I ducked my head, I released the first layer, which was my regular blue eyes, and the second layer was the Sharingan, and now we're back to regular blue." "Nice strategy, put your opponent off balance then strike." "Well done, Arashi," Asuma said. "Nice strategy, my ass. That was brilliant. That was a blanket strategy, it would have won him the match against any of the participants here. All he would have needed was one moment of hesitation to strike, and the Sharingan appearing in an Uchiha would have provided," the Kakashi thought, looking over his student. "I should ask him to play a game of shogi sometime," Shikamaru thought. "Thank Kami, it was fake." The paperwork involved with the discovery of another Uchiha, the Hokage, released a shudder that only those standing nearby saw. "You little shit. Getting my hopes up like that. You've now made my shit list, and nobody leaves my shit list until they're dead." The same disguised Jonin thought. "Okay, cough, cough. The next match is," Hayate said, turning everyone's attention to the display board. The board flipped through the names before landing on the next 2 fights. "Dosuke Nuda and Kiba Inuzuka, cough, cough. Come down and step, cough. Into the ring," Hayate announced. "Hoo-hoo. Akomaru, let's do it," Kiba exclaimed, practically running down the stairs. Dosu took his time getting down to the arena and lining up in front of Kiba. "Dosu versus Kiba. You should just give up, Akomaru and I have this match in the bag," Kiba stated. Dosu didn't respond, just gave Kiba a blank stare. "Are you both ready?" Hayate asked both contestants, receiving 2 nods. Hayate raised his right arm, then brought it down swiftly. "Begin." "Stay out of this, Akomaru, I can handle this," Kiba said with a smirk piercing fang. Kiba began spinning at an extremely fast rate and launched himself at his opponent. Dosu simply raised the long sleeve of his right arm, and as the spinning Jinan got closer he channeled chakra into his melody arm vibrating sound drill, he said, swinging his arm and sidestepping the mini cyclone. The still spinning Kiba sailed past his intended target directly into the wall behind him, knocking himself unconscious. Akomaru ran to his partner and began tugging on his pants leg, trying to get Kiba's head out of the cement wall it was currently stuck in. Winner. Dosuke Nuta. Medics, Hayate said. XXXXXX. Wow. That was a little embarrassing, huh? Arashi said, stating the obvious. Kurenai just shook her head at her student's embarrassing loss after so much boasting. I can't believe he lost like that. What was that jutsu anyway? You know that device he has on his arm? Shikamaru said. What about it? Kurenai said, turning towards the lazy Jinan. Troublesome. He used a similar attack on another Jinan before the exams started, and he also used during the second stage. He channels chakra through it and attacks with sound waves. With Kiba's sensitive hearing he was at a severe disadvantage, Shikamaru explained. XXXXXX. Next match! Gaara of the Desert and Misumi Tsurugi, cough. Step into the arena. Hayate announced. Gaara disappeared in his sand shunsen and appeared in the center of the arena with his arms crossed over his chest. Misumi walked down from the balcony at a leisurely pace. He appeared to be in no hurry to confront the Jinan from sand. Are both fighters ready? In response, Gaara popped the cork of his gourd and sand began to slither around his form. Misumi gave a hesitant nod of his head. Begin. Misumi began the offensive with a hail of shuriken and kunai. The response from Gaara was a blank stare and his sand moving into the path of the projectiles to intercept them. Misumi rushed Gaara in an attempt to get past his sand defense, but it was no good. Every punch and kick was met with a wall of sand and blank stare. He was beginning to get frustrated when he noticed a tightening around his leg. He glanced down to see sand enclosing his leg, abandoning his attack on Gaara. Misumi brought both fists down on the sand encasing his leg, breaking the hold, and then did several backhand springs to gain some distance. That was little too close. I see why you've never taken any damage. That is one hell of a defense, Misumi said. Gaara ignored the compliment. This is boring. Your blood is not enough to appease mother, Gaara said in his usual monotone voice. Misumi glared at Gaara. Don't dismiss me, you little shit. You might not live to regret it. He then put his hands in a ram seal and channeled chakra throughout his body. Soft body modification, he said. Lowering his arms, he reached into his hip pouch and pulled out a paper tag. His jutsu became noticeable when he stretched his arm out to attack Gaara. As he had expected, Gaara's sand came to his defense and Misumi attached the paper bomb to the sand shield. Placing his hand in the ram seal, let's see how bored you are now, he said, detonating the bomb and showering bits of sand throughout the arena. This strategy actually made Gaara blink, but that was all the response he had. Misumi then went on the offense once more. This time he stretched both his arms and attached two exploding tags, scattering Gaara's defense even more. Misumi's strategy was simple. Without his sand, Gaara was defenseless, so get rid of the sand, get to the target. Easy, you're running out of sand, kid. Without this defense you're a sitting duck. If Misumi hadn't gotten so overconfident that his strategy was working, he would have noticed that he was suddenly ankle-deep in sand. Unfortunately, he only noticed when he was overcome by a shadow from behind him. He tried to jump away, but the sand at his ankles tightened and brought him to the floor. The sand that was building behind him crashed down on top of him, wrapping his body from the shoulders down in a tight cocoon. As I said before, your blood is unworthy of mother, but she must be fed, Gaara said. How did you get your sand behind me? Misumi had to strain to get the words out because the sand was steadily increasing. Your little bombs caused a cloud cover and I drilled a hole in the floor and got my sand behind you, sand coffin. Before Hayate could call the match, even before Misumi could scream, he was crushed within the sand. Winner, Gaara of the Desert. Medics. As Gaara's sand retreated back to his gourd, Misumi was left in a heap until the medics pronounced him dead and removed his body. XXXXXX. Did that really just happen? He just killed him like it was nothing, Choji said, shocked at having just witnessed his first death. Gaara's never satisfied unless he spills blood. Unfortunately, he doesn't care if it's friend or enemy, Tamari said, although the last part she said quietly so that only Kankuro standing next to her could hear. Tsurugi-san was right about something, Arashi said, not speaking to anyone in particular. If one were to get past his sand defense they could take him down. Too bad the fight didn't last too long. I would have liked to see the extent of his defense. Kankuro scoffed as he came to stand next to the blonde Konoha ninja. It's an absolute defense, nothing gets past it. The only absolute defense is an absolute offense. Besides, I like a challenge and this seems promising, Arashi said. Yeah, I'll make sure they put that on your tombstone, pal, Kankuro replied smugly. XXXXXX. Next match, Choji Akimichi vs Yoroi Akato. Enter the arena, cough, cough, Hayate announced. Yoroi jumped from the balcony to the floor, anxious to get the fight going, while Choji was freaking out, clutching to Shikamaru and Asuma. I don't have all day, fat boy, get down here so you can have your ass handed to you, Yoroi growled out. Choji's hysterics ceased immediately and he walked woodenly to the railing of the balcony and looked down at his opponent. What did you call me? He asked calmly. I called you fat boy, what of it? That's what I thought you said, Choji said, and disappeared from the balcony and was suddenly standing across from Yoroi. Proctor, start the match then find a spot out the way, Choji said, still in that calm voice. Damn, Akimikas are so sensitive, but still better someone else than me, Hayate thought. Are you both ready? Getting two nods, begin, he said and disappeared. Partial expansion jutsu, right arm, Choji said, and right at the start threw a punch worthy of a giant. His hand completely covered Yoroi from head to toe as it connected with Yoroi's entire body, embedding him spread eagle into the cement wall behind him. I'm not fat, I'm big boned. Choji screamed. Winner, Choji Akimichi. Medics. XXXXXX. So I'm guessing he's a tad sensitive about his weight, huh? Arashi said. Asuma sheepishly rubbed the back of his head. Only a little. XXXXXX. Cough, cough. Next match, Rock Lee vs Kankuro of the Desert. Enter the arena. Yes. It is now time to show the world my flames of youth. Lee screamed from the balcony before flipping over it, landing below in a crouched position. Kankuro joined Lee in the arena after calmly walking down the stairs. The two faced each other. Lee was almost bouncing with unused energy. Calm down, Lee, soon you may unleash the power of youth, Guy shouted from the balcony. Cough, cough, both fighters ready? Two nods later, begin. Let's have a most youthful match, Lee said, doing his nice guy pose. Kankuro sweat dropped at the weird green clad on. Yeah, whatever. Alright, here I go, Lee said before disappearing in a show of speed. When he was seen again, he was already in mid-air performing a back-spinning kick, severe leaf hurricane, he said, aiming for Kankuro's head. Crash. Kankuro's head burst in a shower of wooden splinters. AHH. My power of youth has completely destroyed another person. Lee screamed, backing away from the headless corpse. Oh son of a bitch! Was heard as the bundle on the headless body unwrapped itself, revealing the real Kankuro. You destroyed Kuro. Do you know how long it took me to build this? The blood, the sweat and tears? I am so sorry. What can I do to help you fix it? Lee offered. Arashi palmed his face at that. Hey, Lee, Arashi yelled down to get his attention. Yes, Arashi-san? Don't apologize, you're in the middle of a fight, you just destroyed his weapon, now kick his ass. Dynamic entry, Lee said, taking a running start and executing a flying kick to the face of a still distraught Kankuro, knocking him unconscious before he hit the ground. Winner, Rock Lee. Medics. Guy-sensei, I did it. I'm one step closer to showing the power of youth to the world. Lee, you make so proud, Guy said, giving his student a nice guy pose complete with a wide cheesy grin. Alright, cough, cough, clear the floor, we have to, cough, start the next match, Hayate said, shaking his head at the guy clone running back up the balcony. Next match. Shikamaru Nara vs Kintsuchi, winner, Shikamaru Nara. Neji Hyuga vs Hinata Hyuga, winner, Neji Hyuga. Tenten vs Tamari of the Desert, winner, Tamari of the Desert. Zaku Ibumi vs Shino Aburame, winner, Shino Aburame. That concludes the prelim battles. Cough, cough. Now everyone draw a slip of paper from the box and read of the number, Hayate said, readying a clipboard. 47138256. 9. Okay, here's the lineup for the finals. Cough, cough. Match 1, Neji Hyuga vs Arashi. Match 2, Shikamaru Nara vs Tamari of the Desert. Match 3, Gaara of the Desert vs Rock Lee. Match 4, Shino Aburame vs Tosuke Nuta and Choji Akimichi will have a first round bye. You will have, 1 month to plan a battle strategy. A month? Why so long? Choji asked. So that the nobles who will be coming from all over have a chance to get here and see you in action for themselves. The Hokage informed them. Congratulations on advancing so far, and I look forward to seeing what else you have in store for a stadium packed with an audience. For now though, you are all dismissed. Genins and Jonin senseis began to file out of the prelim battle arena to prepare for the following month, with the exception of a few. Arashi was one of the first ones to leave the arena, eager to pick up the trail of the absent Kabuto. He didn't get very far outside the tower before a massive Anbu in a bear mask stopped him. "Can I help you, Bear-san? Lord Hokage has ordered you to meet him at the Hokage Tower within the hour," Arashi-san the Anbu said. Arashi cited the delay to his mission very well. "I'll make my way there." Nodding in acceptance, the bear Anbu disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Arashi shook his head, then followed the example of the Anbu and disappeared in a swirl of wind. XXXXXX. He reappeared near the edge of Training Ground 44 and made his way back into the village. Since he had an hour to kill, he figured he would grab a bite to eat and directed his feet to one of his favorite places in Konoha to chow down, the Ichiraku ramen stand. He discovered Ichiraku's fairly quickly when he first arrived in the village, and it quickly became one of his favorite eateries. The food was godly, the service was outstanding, and Ayame the cook's daughter was wonderful scenery. Just thinking about the brown-haired cutie with a kind smile made Arashi quicken his steps. Since the ramen stand was in the Shinobi section of the village, he made it there in about 5 minutes at a quick pace. Stepping through the curtains, he paused to inhale the collection of perfectly cooked ramen and almost had an olfactory joygasm. Arashi shook himself before he started drooling through his mask and took a seat at the counter. "Just a minute and I'll be right with you," a female voice said from the back of the food stand. "Take your time," Arashi replied, picking up the menu even though he already memorized the whole thing. "Welcome to Akira, Arashi-kun." "Welcome back," Ayame said, beaming at him. "Thank you, Ayame-chan." "Have you been out on a mission? You usually come by at least once a week?" she asked. "Actually, I was taking part in the Chunin exams and they just finished the second part. The final stage doesn't happen for another month, so you might not be seeing that often in the near future." "Oh. Well, I'll miss having you around, Arashi-kun," Ayame said, pink tinging her cheeks slightly. Arashi smirked beneath his mask. "Ayame-chan, I had no idea you would miss me so much. Would you like something to hold you over until we meet again?" he asked, leaning over the counter, getting right in her face, looking into her eyes. The slight tinge of pink turned into a cherry red from her neck to her forehead. That's not what I meant at all," she stammered. "Let me go put your order in," she said, turning and almost running into the kitchen. A few seconds later, the owner of Akirakus and M's father came out of the kitchen. He was probably in his early to mid-50s with perpetually closed eyes and a scowl. "I figured it was you out here, Arashi-san." Ayame came in the kitchen, red from hairline to neck, and completely forgot the order. "Now she's too embarrassed to come back out to ask for it again," he said, chuckling. The only reason she forgot was because she never took it. The ramen chef was laughing outright now and thinking of the blackmail material he now had on his daughter. "Anyway, what will you have?" "A large bowl of chicken, beef and pork please." "Just 3, huh? Taking it light today?" "Yeah, unfortunately, I have an appointment so have to dine and dash," Arashi said. "Then let me get started. Your orders will be ready in a minute," Ichiraku said, heading to the kitchen. Arashi was settling himself in for a wait when he heard a semi-familiar voice in the street behind him. "You do know the rocks aren't square, don't you?" The voice. "Get out of here, lady, can't you see we're on a surveillance mission?" a childish voice said that Arashi did recognize. Arashi moved to the curtain and saw that the familiar female voice was Hana Inuzuka. She was wearing the same clothes as last time he saw her, only this time a Chunin vest had been added as well as 3 grey wolf hounds. The hounds were surrounding a poorly designed talking rock. "I'm just saying, rocks aren't square, neither do they have eye holes," Hana said, shaking her head with her hands on her hips. "Just leave already and take your dogs with you, you're going to blow our cover," the voice belonging to Konohamaru said. "Too late for that, Kon. What are you doing?" Arashi asked, walking up to them. "This is our chance," Konohamaru said. Then the rock exploded in smoke, causing the dogs to retreat behind Hana and Arashi. Cough, 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 too much smoke powder. "I'm Konohamaru, future monkey sage of Konoha. My name is Udon and I like math." Udon was a slightly pudgy boy with a perpetually runny nose and glasses. "I'm Moegi, the sassiest kunoichi on the planet." Moegi was an orange-haired girl with 2 massive pigtails sticking straight up off her head and a perpetual blush which could not be seen at the moment because the 3 academy students were wearing face masks over the lower half of their face, much like Arashi. "Together we are the Konohamaru Ninja Corp," the 3 said at the same time and struck poses. Arashi just stared at the 3 with a blank expression and a sweat drop, as he did every time the trio did their introduction right. "Let me ask again. What are you doing, Kon?" Arashi said. "Ni-san, I'm here to challenge you," Konohamaru said, pointing at Arashi. "Okay, have you finished the exercise I gave you?" Arashi asked. Not yet," Konohamaru said, rubbing his head sheepishly. "You know our deal, no challenges until you complete every exercise I give you. Why didn't you finish it?" Arashi asked, glaring slightly. Because it was boring just sitting there going through hand seals, I wanted to learn some awesome jutsu, he said. Oh, I see, you want to learn an awesome jutsu, huh? Something like a dragon made of fire? Arashi asked in false cheerfulness. Yeah, definitely, that sounds awesome, Konohamaru said, nodding his head eagerly. Arashi looked at Udon and Moegi. How about you two, you want to learn an awesome jutsu as well? Two more eager head nods followed his question. Okay. I'll teach the three of you an offensive jutsu right now, Arashi said, smiling at the three. Arashi-san, is it a good idea to teach 3 academy students a possibly dangerous jutsu? Asked Hana, who had been keeping quiet until then. It'll be fine, Hana-chan. Okay, you 3 pay close attention. This jutsu is a close quarter combat jutsu. It's very effective if used correctly. There's only one hand seal. Arashi then held his closed fist out so that all 3 could see it. I call this jutsu the get your head out of your ass jutsu. Bonk. 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 And just like that, the Konohamaru Ninja Corps was sitting on their asses, nursing the lumps on the top of their heads. Ni-san, boss Arashi. Hana was off to the side of the group where she had moved when she thought Arashi was going to actually teach these kids something as destructive as the Fire Dragon Jutsu. Have you forgotten already, Konohamaru? There are no shortcuts to achieving your goals. You have to complete every step or you will miss something vital that could save your life or someone else's someday. Even if I were dumb enough to teach you an A-ranked jutsu like the Fire Dragon Jutsu, if you can't do the hand seals correctly you might accidentally blow yourself up. Udon. Moegi, since you both followed Konohamaru's lead without questioning his plan, you can share in his punishment, Arashi said, getting shocked looks from the 3. Punishment? Punishment for what? Konohamaru asked, still holding his head. Punishment for breaking your end of the deal we made. For the next 30 days you are not allowed to challenge me or your grandfather, Arashi began. What? I'm not done. In addition to that, for the next 30 days you owe me 20 laps a day around the academy while going through hand seals forward and backward. If you don't complete your punishment then I won't accept any more of your challenges, Arashi said. Why not? Konohamaru asked almost tearfully. Because Kon, you have already broken your word to me once when you didn't finish the original exercise but challenged me anyway. You're more than my rival. Someday the 3 of you are going to be my comrades and I have to know I can trust you to do what you say you're going to do, he said, staring down at the Konohamaru Corps. Fine, I accept your punishment and I'll finish those laps and more. Me too. I'll be right there with you, Konohamaru, Udon said. You two would be lost without me, so I'll be there as well, Moegi chimed in. It's good to see you so enthusiastic. Before you get started there are 3 large bowls of ramen waiting for you inside. Just tell them to put it on my tab, Arashi said, smiling as the 3 academy students rushed into the stand. While Arashi was doling out punishments, Hana was dealing with some rising feelings for the masked ninja. Okay, so far I've seen he can be king to animals, which is a big plus. He would be a wonderful role model if the ninja mask these kids are wearing is any indication. He can also be strict and instill morals into people. My Kami. Now I just need to see him on the battlefield and in the bedroom and I might have found the perfect mate. Hana's thoughts were interrupted by Arashi's hand waving in front of her face. Hana-chan, you zoned out on me for a minute. Oh sorry Arashi-kun, Hana said, blushing slightly, and didn't realize she added the kun suffix, but Arashi did. Were you saying something? Yeah, I asked for an introduction to your companions, Arashi said, his eyes conveying his amusement. Oh. Of course, these are the Heimaru triplets, my partners, Hana said, gesturing towards her 3 gray constant companions. Nice to meet you all, Arashi said by way of greeting. The Heimaru triplets shuffled closer to Arashi to get a couple of good sniffs just to memorize his scent, then once again retreated to Hana's side. So where are you off to, Hana-chan? I was on my way to the hospital to pick up my brother Kiba. It seems he got himself injured during the Chunin exams, Hana. Yeah, I was there. It was kind of over pretty quick after all his boasting, Arashi said, chuckling at the memory. Do you mind if I walk with you? I'm heading in that direction. Not at all, I have a couple of medic friends who were there. They told me in great detail what happened. It sounded just like him. Kiba thinks himself an alpha, but at the moment he doesn't have the skill to back it up. He'll come around. How did you do? Hana asked. I'm in the finals, 1 month from today, and I show Konoha and the Elemental Nation what I can do, Arashi said confidently. Careful, you sound a little like Kiba, Hana said. Thanks for the warning. Arashi and Hana walked together for a few more minutes until they came to a cross-section. The hospital was further down the street straight ahead, but the Hokage tower where Arashi had his meeting was to the right. I guess this is where we part company for the time being. It was nice seeing you again, Hana-chan. You too Arashi, I'll be sure to cheer for you during the exams, Hana promised. Thank you Hana-chan, I look forward to hearing you scream my name, Arashi said, walking off down the road towards the tower. Hana was stuck in the middle of the road with her jaw hanging open and a deep red blush on her face at the blatant sexual innuendo, as well as a pleasant shiver of anticipation. XXXXXX. Arashi arrived at the Hokage's door, and knowing that he was expected to enter of his own accord. He was greeted by a tense atmosphere. In the room was Kakashi standing in front of the Hokage's desk with his hands shoved into his pockets, as well as a man Arashi had never met but knew the description of. He was an older man somewhere in his late 40s early 50s, with long white spiky hair tied in a ponytail going down his back, with two shoulder-length strands going down both sides of his face. He also had red lines that ran from beneath his eyes down his cheeks and a horned forehead protector with the kanji for oil on it. His outfit consisted of a green short kimono over top a mesh shirt and matching pants with wooden getas instead of shinobi sandals. Rounding out the outfit was a red cloak. He was leaning against the window behind the Hokage with his arms crossed, with a large scroll resting against his leg. "You called for me, Hokage-sama?" Arashi said respectively. "Yes I did. Firstly, knock off the Hokage-sama stuff. Everyone here already knows who you are," the Hokage said. "If you say so, Gigi. I don't mean to sound impatient, but I was hoping to get back on Kabuto's trail before it went cold." "Then I'm glad I called you here. Originally, I only called you here to introduce you to Jiraiya here," Hiruzen said, gesturing over his shoulder at Jiraiya, who tilted his head in greeting, which Naruto returned. "But now with the information that Kakashi brought to me, Kabuto's surveillance mission just became a capture mission. About a half an hour ago Kabuto tried to abduct Sasuke from the hospital," Hiruzen informed him. "He's still in the hospital? I didn't do that much damage, did I?" Arashi asked, a little worried because in all honesty he felt like he barely touched the Uchiha. Arashi decided to put Sasuke out of his mind for the time being. "Kakashi, did he display any skills that weren't in his files? He may be a censor or just really aware of his surroundings. He was ready for me before I even entered the room, and also he already had an exit strategy prepared. His evasion skills are quite good. He disguised himself as a dead Anbu and used the dead soul jutsu, where he can temporarily use an animated dead body. He seemed to be comfortable in close quarters, so I'm guessing he prefers close-range combat as opposed to long or mid-range." Kakashi ended his examination of Kabuto's skills with a shrug of his shoulders. "That's all I could figure out in the short time we encountered each other." "That's more than enough. I'll start at the hospital and work my way out." "Where do you want him delivered?" Arashi asked his leader. "Anbu headquarters. We have to get those invasion plans out of him if he knows them. I'll have interrogators on standby for delivery." "Right, well I'm off. I'll check in when I can," Arashi said, leaving in a swirl of leaves. "So that's him, huh? The hair and eyes are all Minato, and from the way you described how he fights, that's Minato as well, except that thing with the Sharingan that reminds me of Kushina all the way," Jiraiya said, laughing at the story he was told shortly before Naruto's arrival. "I've had the opportunity to hang out with him and he definitely has some of Kushina-sama in him, even off the battlefield," Kakashi said, thinking back to Arashi's first night and the many that followed of him drinking and ditching the bills on someone else. "He'll be fine, Jiraiya. He was trained by some of the best people I could find," Hiruzen assured him. Jiraiya turned serious eyes on his sensei. "Who did train him, sensei?" "I did, technically XXXXXX. Just like Arashi said, he started his search at the hospital, and an hour later he was following Kabuto's scent all throughout Konoha, leading him on a merry chase until finally the scent grew strong enough for Arashi to know that Kabuto was close by. It was dark out now, which made it easier for Arashi to blend into the shadows, and which might have been the reason Kabuto suddenly decided not to be too careful. He spotted Kabuto walking out of an alley about 50 yards ahead. He then began just strolling down the street without a care in the world, like he wasn't being hunted at the moment. Maybe he knew someone was out there, maybe he didn't. Either way, it takes a lot of balls to walk in enemy territory and be so damn relaxed about it. Arashi decided to hang back in the distance until Kabuto hopefully entered an area where he could let loose and not worry about collateral damage. He followed Kabuto for another hour as he seemed to wander aimlessly until he suddenly took to the roofs. Arashi followed a moment later, and as he crept closer he was surprised to see Kabuto joined by someone he recognized from the exams. It was the Sand Team's Jonin sensei. As Arashi stood in a shadowed corner of the next building over, he channeled chakra into his ear to listen in on what they were saying. "Should we be meeting out in the open like this? If Konoha suspects, things could take a turn for the worst," Baki said. "It doesn't matter, my cover is already blown. I was ordered to take Sasuke from the hospital but failed, so Konoha is already on the lookout for me," Kabuto responded. Exactly. Why they're looking for a sound spy, but they have no suspicions on the Sand Village, and the Hokage wants to keep it that way. I heard you're a chimerous right hand, but you still call for a face-to-face meeting after you've been compromised. It's a foolish game you're playing. True enough, I probably could have taken Sasuke and been back in the Sound Village before they had even realized it, but I wanted to see how Konoha would respond. Seeing their reaction, I could still take him. If your foolishness causes the plan to fail, the hidden sand will withdraw. You came to us, the sand will not show its hand until the last moment. That is the will of our Kage. That's fine with us. Here is a scroll with the plan. You should tell your students soon so they know what roles they are to play. Right. Well, I'm out of here, but before I go, I'll deal with our guest. Arashi cut the flow of chakra to his ears and prepared to defend himself from any incoming attack, but none came. He looked back over to Kabuto and the Sand Jonin with enough time to see two shadows racing away further into the village. He turned his attention to Kabuto, who stood there for a moment longer before dropping of the side of the building. Shadow clone jutsu, he whispered. No words were traded between clone and creator. The clone knew what he wanted and went after the Sand Jonin and the mystery person. Arashi got back on Kabuto's trail and was happy to see he was finally going into a less populated area, namely one of the many training grounds. The training ground was like many others within Konoha, a wide grassy field with trees dotted throughout the edges. He walked into the very center of the wide grassy area before he stopped. I was hoping you would get bored by now, but it seems I have some loose ends, Kabuto said with his back turned. Arashi stayed in the shadows waiting for Kabuto to make the first move. He was glad he waited, because coming out of the tree line facing Kabuto was the hunched figure of Dosuke Nuda. The only reason I followed you to begin with was to get a look at those info cards of yours, but then I heard you and that sand ninja talking. You're a chimerous right hand, huh? Since I can't get to him, you'll have to do, Dosu said, raising the sleeve of his melody arm. Now why would you betray Orochimaru-sama after all he has given you? Kabuto asked, smirking at the bandaged Dosu. We thought we were going to be a part of something great. We thought we would finally belong somewhere, but Orochimaru was just fattening us up for the kill. We were supposed to die by Sasuke Uchiha's hands when he awakened the curse mark, weren't we? He asked. Oh, you're a smart one, Dosu-kun. You know your sacrifice doesn't have to be in vain. Orochimaru-sama still has a use for you, Kabuto said, holding up a now glowing hand. I'm done being used, Dosu replied and rushed forward, swinging his melody arm. Kabuto was launched back and landed roughly on the ground. Dosu ran forward to press his attack but skidded to a stop when Kabuto dissolved into mud. Mud clone. Dosu thought, looking around frantically for any sign of Kabuto. Ah! Dosu fell forward with a cry of pain as his Achilles tendons was cut in both heels. Kabuto rose from the ground behind him with a cold smirk on his face. He took advantage of Dosu's position, hand pressed the tip of his glowing finger to the back of his neck and completely immobilized him. I've just trapped the blood flow to your brain. In a minute, all that blood that circulates around your brain will have nowhere else to go except for your nose, your mouth, the ears, even your eyes, and then you will die, painfully. It's called the kiss of the dragon, Kabuto explained calmly while smiling down at the struggling Dosu. You should have taken me up on my offer, Dosu-kun. Kabuto was forced to dodge away from the prone Dosu as Arashi finally made his presence known by way of a kunai aimed at Kabuto's head. Kabuto put a good amount of distance between them and watched as Arashi put a kunai through the back of Dosu's head to ease his suffering. Aw, you ruined my entertainment. No matter though, I'll be happy to let you play the next round of Meet the Shinigami, Kabuto said, smiling at Arashi and pushing his glasses up his nose. Arashi didn't respond to the taunt, just created a shadow clone and had to take Dosu's body out of the upcoming battleground. Nothing to say, Arashi-kun? Nothing about how I could betray my home? Or how heartless I am? Kabuto asked. Arashi responded by reaching into his hip pouch and pulling out a black cylinder that fit in the palm of his hand. Channeling chakra into the cylinder, it extended to reveal a 6-foot solid steel bow staff. Do I look like a therapist to you? I don't care about your reasons for joining with Orochimaru or how cold and ruthless you are in battle. The only thing that concerns me is completing my mission, so let's get this over with quickly, Arashi said, running forward, twirling his staff above his head. When he came within reach of Kabuto, he flipped over him and brought his staff crashing against the trunk of a tree directly behind Kabuto, shattering the trunk and almost knocking the tree down. A figure jumped out of the trunk of the tree before Arashi's staff could connect with it. The figure was Kabuto. I guess there's no fooling you with simple mud clone, is there? He asked, letting his mud clone collapse. Oh well, it has been some time since I could cut loose and there's no time like the present to stretch those seldom used muscles, Kabuto said. You're a funny guy, Kabuto. You're so confident that you can escape or outright kill me, but in reality you have no idea what you're dealing with. Arashi releasing lightning chakra into his steel staff lightning style. Lightning Rod Jutsu. Arashi sprang forward swinging his staff in a downward slash aim for Kabuto's shoulder. Kabuto jumped back trying to put some distance between himself and the too close for comfort lightning rod. But Arashi didn't give him a chance to react in any way other than defensively. Lightning Rod Jutsu. You're a funny guy, Kabuto. You're so confident that you can escape or outright kill me, but in reality you have no idea what you're dealing with. Arashi releasing lightning chakra into his steel staff lightning style. Lightning Rod Jutsu. Arashi sprang forward swinging his staff in a downward slash aim for Kabuto's shoulder. Kabuto jumped back trying to put some distance between himself and the too close for comfort lightning rod. But Arashi didn't give him a chance to react in any way other than defensively as he continued to press his attack. Kabuto was set back on his heels. He didn't have any information on this Arashi person that couldn't be found by doing a bit of research. Kabuto was a close-range fighter, and without the ability to get in close and use his chakra scalpels, he was at a serious disadvantage to a competent enemy. Earth Style, Mud Clone Jutsu. Out of the ground rose 5 additional clones who upon fully forming charged Arashi head-on. Arashi stuck his staff in the ground and went through several hand seals. Fire Style, Great Fireball Jutsu. Arashi inhaled a deep breath before exhaling a fireball that completely obliterated the mud clones and a good portion of the training field. Okay, if I was a cowardly, four-eyed, butt-loving psychopath, where would I be? Arashi asked himself right before the ground behind him exploded in a shower of dirt. Arashi was about to turn round when he felt a fingertip at the back of his neck and froze. You shouldn't make me angry, Arashi-kun. I know ways to keep you alive and in pain for the rest of your life, Kabuto hissed coldly. Good luck for you though that I don't have time because of that little fire show you put on. But I do have to congratulate you though, you're the second person tonight to be kissed by a dragon. I only wish we had more time, Kabuto said smirking before pushing chakra into the back of Arashi's neck. Two things happened then. The Arashi in front of Kabuto disappeared in a puff of smoke, and the staff that had been stuck in the ground slightly behind Kabuto transformed into the real Arashi and grabbed Kabuto by his outstretched arm and by the back of his neck. Your wish is granted, Kabuto-kun. We're going to have plenty of time together, Arashi said before channeling lightning chakra through Kabuto's body until he was unconscious. Dropping the unconscious Kabuto to the ground, Arashi spent a few minutes tying him up with ninja wire and also putting a chakra suppressing sealing on him, before picking him up and disappearing in a crackle of lightning. XXXXXX. Arashi arrived at the Anbu headquarters with the still unconscious Kabuto draped over his shoulders. He was apparently expected because he was met at the entrance by the bear Anbu from earlier in the day and a purple-haired Anbu with a cat mask. He followed the two to the Anbu interrogation rooms where the Hokage and my clone seemed to be waiting for him. The clone, upon seeing his creator, dispelled himself with a two-finger salute. When Arashi absorbed the clone's memories, he knew they weren't actually waiting for him. He moved to stand next to the Hokage and peered through the two-way glass at the Sand Jonin Baki being interrogated by a blonde man with a long high ponytail. Who's that guy? Arashi asked. Inoiki Yamanaka, head of the Yamanaka clan and one of our top interrogators, Hiruzeb informed him. Where's Aviki then? I sent him out on a intel gathering mission right after the prelim fights. He won't be back for at least a week. Had I known I would have needed him, I would have sent someone else, the Hokage grumbled. Arashi smirked at the Hokage standing next to him. Since we don't have any time to lose, I know of an interrogation specialist who would love to go to work on Orochimaru's second in command with a pair of kunai and a blowtorch. It appears so, but I'm still worried she might kill him before we get every scrap of information on Orochimaru and his plans out of him, especially when she finds out he's Orochimaru's second in command, the Hokage said. That's why they gave you the fancy hat, so you can make the hard choices, Arashi said. Hiruzen chuckled at Arashi wit before he became serious again. Any problems out of him? He asked, gesturing towards Kabuto. He's a close-range fighter and an expert medic ninja. He also likes to talk and try and egg his opponents on into making mistakes. I put a chakra suppressor on him, so he'll be staying put for quite a while unless someone helps him. Hiruzen nodded his head at the information Anbu. Instantly 4 of the super elite were kneeling in front of the Hokage. Take the prisoner to the isolation cells. No one is to see him unless you hear from me personally. No scrolls, no notes and no word of mouth. Fail me in this task and you will be stripped of your ranks and demoted to Jinan, Hiruzen ordered. The 4 kneeling Anbu simultaneously shivered at the threat. Well, Hokage-sama, if you don't need me anymore. Arashi trailed off, hoping that he could get out of there and get some rest. You're dismissed. You can give me a full report in the morning. Thank you, Hokage-sama, Arashi said, bowing deeply in a show of respect. Yeah, get out here with it, the Hokage said, waving him off. Arashi turned around prepared to leave when he spotted the cat mask Anbu that had escorted him to the Hokage waiting at the end of the hall. As he approached, she gestured with her head to follow him. Apparently he needed an escort. I could find my way, if you want to continue your duties, Arashi said. I'm off duty. I only stuck around to thank you for saving the life of my boyfriend, a soft but firm voice said from behind the mask. You're welcome. How is Hayate doing? Sorry I had to leave him there, or rather my clone did, but he seemed to be having some kind of fit? It's okay, he always has that kind of reaction when he pushes himself hard, but he made it to the hospital for treatment so I can yell at him when he wakes up for almost getting killed tonight, she said grimly. I'm glad he's going to be okay on Busan. Thanks for the escort, but this is where we part ways, he said as they exited the building and Arashi disappeared in a cloud of smoke, leaving behind the cat on boot to do the same. Arashi reappeared on the roof of the apartment he shared with Anko. He had practically moved in after their first night together. He was about to scale down the wall and in through the window as per usual when he spotted a shadow moving out of the corner of his eye. He summoned a kunai into his hand and was about to throw it, when the person walked into the light with his hands up. Oh, it's you. How can I help you, Jiraiya? He asked, resealing his kunai. Sensei told me about the Hokage's secret and how he sent you off to train with them. I guess you know that I was your father's teacher? He asked, getting a nod from Arashi. There's nothing to do but come out and say it. Your parents also named me your godfather, he said, then waited for some kind of response from the silent blonde. Why tell me this? As you can see, I'm already grown, and as you have heard, I was raised by 4 of the greatest men and shinobi ever to come out of Konoha. I don't need a father figure, I've had 4 of them, Arashi said calmly, having already known Jiraiya was his godfather from reading his father's will when he first came to the village over 6 months ago. I'm telling you this so that I can get to know you. I let bad memories keep me out of Konoha and out of your life for 16 years, I don't want to waste any more time. I want to know the only family I have left, Jiraiya said, never breaking eye contact with Arashi. Arashi looked at Jiraiya steadily, trying to figure out if the man had any motives for suddenly wanting to be a part of his life now. Are you dying or something? Because if you are and you're only coming to seek me out now out of some kind of guilt, we can keep our relationship completely business related with no hard feelings from me. No. I'm not dying, Kami-sama kid. To be honest, I am here out of guilt though. Hold on, let me finish, he said, holding up his palm when it looked like Arashi was about to lay into him. I should have put my duties as your godfather above my own grief. I'm sorry for running out on you, you needed me more than I needed to drown my sorrows. Save your sorries, Arashi said, making Jiraiya flinch slightly and look away. Who's to say my life would have been better if you had taken me with you? Gigi told me the only reason I didn't grow up as heir to the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans was because the Hidden Rock is a grudge against my father, and the Hidden Cloud tried to abduct my mother once for her special chakra, and he feared they would come after me. Arashi released a heavy sigh. You can tell me that after being a shinobi for as long as you have, you don't have enemies as well. Having me along would have handicapped you severely, so there is no need to apologize, Arashi said. Jiraiya released a breath. He hadn't known he was holding. Thank you was all Jiraiya said before he turned to walk back into the shadows. Hey, Jiraiya. I was going to just crash out, but would you like to come in for a drink? I'd like to get to know my godfather as soon as possible, Arashi offered. A drink sounds good, lead the way, Jiraiya said. So Arashi jumped off the roof and began wall walking to his and Anko's apartment, followed by Jiraiya, and godson and godfather spent the night trading laughs and battle stories over cups of sake well into the night. XXXXXX. This is it, Arashi thought. He was currently lined up with the rest of the Chunin hopefuls in the center of a massive stadium packed to the rafters with people from all walks of life, from simple merchants to nobles from all over the elemental continent. The last month has been pretty hectic, with Arashi training for the exams while also planning for the invasion. The Hokage along with the Jonin commander Shikaku Nara came up with a pretty good counterattack to neutralize Orochimaru. Since we had the plans Kabuto handed off to Baki, Inoiki gave him a false memory of killing Hayate and placed a Yamanaka-based memory seal on him before releasing him to continue on as if nothing has changed. The real gold mine of information came from the broken Kabuto. It took a combination of Anko and Ibiki, mental and physical torture 24/7 for almost a week to break him down. Plans were in place, backup plans were in place, all we were waiting for was the catalyst. XXXXXX. Among the attendees in the stadium were members of the Rookie Nine. Sakura was patiently sitting next to Ino, who was still after a month trying to get Sakura to tell her the real reason she backed out of the exams. I mean it, forehead, if you don't tell me what you're planning I'll dive into your brain and get it myself, Ino threatened. For the last time, Ms. Piggy, I'm not planning anything. I'm just really going to focus on my training from now on. All that time I spent trying to be the perfect girl for Sasuke, and what did it get me? Nothing at all. He barely acknowledges me, even now when we're on the same team. I have one of the strongest shinobi in Konoha as my sensei, and did I take advantage of that fact to get stronger? No, I didn't. Sakura sighed and shook her head in self-disgust. When I dropped out of the exams, I was completely truthful. I'm not ready. I only survived as long as I have by relying solely on luck on those around me, but that ended a month ago. I will never cower behind someone else and let them defend ever gain. Ino was speechless. All this time she thought Sakura was trying to pull some kind of elaborate ruse in order to win Sasuke-kun, but she was dead serious about taking her career to the next level. I think it's time I followed your lead instead of expecting you to follow mine, Ino thought to herself. That was well said, Sakura, and I'm glad to hear you're going to be taking your training seriously from now on, Kakashi said from the aisle next to Sakura. Neither Ino nor Sakura noticed his arrival along with Guy-sensei, Asuma-sensei and Kurenai-sensei. Kakashi-sensei, how long have you been there? Sakura asked. Long enough to see my student mature before my eyes, Kakashi said, smiling at her. I can see the beginnings of your flames of youth, Sakura-san. Might Guy, will help you fan those flames into an inferno. Guy proclaimed with fire in his eyes. Sakura was cringing in her seat away from the loud, big eyebrow Jonin. Now I know how everyone else feels when I scream at them. Thank you, Guy-sensei. But I think I'll have to find my own pace for the moment, Sakura said with a nervous chuckle. Very well, but know this, the offer is always open. I won't lie and say that the thought of swiping one of Kakashi's promising students is not an unwelcome side effect, Guy said, rubbing his chin while smirking at Kakashi. I'm sorry, Guy, did you say something? Kakashi asked when he noticed Guy was looking at him. Darn you, Kakashi. Why do you have to be so cool? Guy shouted. Guy-sensei. Will you quiet down, please? The exams are about to start, Tenten said, entering with Kiba Akamaru and Hinata following her down to the seats. XXXXXX. Arashi glanced up at the Hokage sitting up high on a balcony next to the disguised Orochimaru in the Hokage's robes. Arashi was brought out of his contemplation by the arrival of the exam proctor. My name is Genma Shiranui, I'll be your proctor. Same rules apply here that applied in the prelims. Stop when I say stop or be prepared to answer to me. There has been a change of plans. Because Dosuke Nuta of the Sound Village seems to have disappeared, Choji Akimichi will now face Shino Aburame in the fourth match. Now put your game faces on and don't embarrass your village, he said, then turned to look at the Hokage awaiting the signal to begin. As the Hokage rose from his seat to speak, the crowd quieted down and gave him their full attention. Once again, I would like to congratulate you all on making it this far. This is your moment, show the people what you can do, Hiruzen said, talking directly to the fighters. Now let the final stage of the Chunin selection exams begin. You heard Lord Hokage, first match Neji Hyuga vs Arashi. Everyone else clear the arena floor. Genma ordered. As the other contestants left the area, Neji and Arashi squared off on the center. XXXXXX. Pay close attention, Hinabi, this is what a true genius of the gentle fist can do, Hyuga clan head Yashi said to his preteen daughter seated next to him. Yes, father, came the somewhat cold response from Hinabi Hyuga, second-born daughter of the clan head. XXXXXX. Fate has already decided the outcome of this battle. There is no way you can win, Neji said, standing across from Arashi with his arms crossed over his chest. I make my own fate, Hyuga-san, as should anyone with the will and determination to do so. You obviously have neither if you rely on fate to determine the actions you take, Arashi said, standing across from Neji casually with his hands in his pockets. Neji's cold look of intimidation turned into a glare. Fate cannot be changed. Just like I am fated to serve the main branch Hyuga until I die, you are fated to lose to me today. If you believed in fate so much, you would not be trying to fight it. If you truly believed you're fated to serve, then you would not have tried to kill Hinata-san during the prelims. Arashi sighed before taking his hands out of his pockets and getting into a loose boxing stance. Anyway, we're not here for a therapy session, so save the talking for someone else. I have other things to do today. Since you're in such a hurry to be defeated, I'll help you on your way, Neji replied, sliding into the gentle fist. Are both fighters ready? Genma asked, glancing at both fighters, receiving a nod from both. Begin. Neji didn't waste any time activating his Byakugan and shooting forward, intending to end this as soon as possible, but Arashi simply used his superior speed and reflexes to keep out of range of the dangerous and deadly gentle fist taijutsu. Arashi continued to evade Neji's attacks and never once trying to counter. With each missed palm strike or kick, Neji was becoming frustrated. I thought you were supposed to be some kind of elite bounty hunter. You're not showing much of anything, Neji said, sneering at Arashi and connecting with a palm strike to the center of Arash's chest. Neji smirked in triumph before the smirk turned into a look of surprise when the Arashi he hit turned into a piece of splintered wood. Using his 360-degree vision, Neji saw Arashi appear 50 feet behind him and throw a single kunai. He was about to reach for his own kunai to deflect it, but a shout of kunai shadow clone jutsu had him abandoning that plan into using a move he had hoped not to reveal until further in the exams. 8 trigrams palm rotation. Neji announced, then began to turn on the spot, which soon became a fast-spinning dome of blue chakra. That deflected all the kunai aimed at him. When Neji came out of the spin, he was noticeably fatigued and confused. What's wrong with me? That took a lot more effort than it should have and caused more chakra than needed. There's no way I should be this tired. XXXXXX. Amazing that he can pull off that move without any formal training, Hiyashi stated. Father, what was that? Hinobi asked. The rotation is an advanced move only passed down through the main branch. For Neji to recreate that move just proves he is a genius when it comes to the gentle fist, Hiyashi explained. XXXXXX. Something's wrong with Neji, Tenten said suddenly. What do you mean, Tenten? Guy asked, looking with concern at Neji. I helped Neji train using the rotation and it never left him that fatigue after one use. Something's wrong with him, she explained. Guy stayed silent and kept his eye on the match. XXXXXX. That was very impressive, Hyuga-san. But you seem a bit confused. Is something wrong? Arashi asked in a concerned manner as he moved to within about 10 feet of